People who grew up in the 1970s carry a psychological makeup that's almost impossible to fully explain to anyone born after the 2000s. It was a generation shaped by quietness, independence, risk, and a kind of childhood that today would probably lead to police visits and social services calls. Yet those years created a mindset that still influences how they think, debate, trust, love, and endure life. They were raised in a world with almost no adult supervision. If you vanished for 5 hours, no one panicked. There were no phones, no GPS, just a bike, a few friends, and a loose agreement to be home before it got dark. And even that rule wasn't strict. Psychologically, this built something rare today, an inner confidence to navigate life without constant instruction. People from the 70s still carry this quiet voice inside that says, "I'll figure it out," even when they have no clear plan. But to really understand the mindset of the 1970s generation, you have to look at who raised them. Most were brought up by parents who lived through World War II or were born right after it. Imagine growing up with parents who experienced real fear, real hunger, real loss. Those adults didn't talk much. They didn't complain. They didn't fall apart. They survived. And without meaning to, they passed that survival mentality to their children. That's why people from the 70s grew up fast. Responsibility wasn't something taught in a class. It was something you absorbed at home. You helped out, you repaired things. You solved problems. If something broke, you didn't throw it away. You fixed it. If something went wrong, you didn't panic. You adjusted. They didn't grow up believing someone else would save them. They were the help. And here's what many people overlook. The world they lived in forced them to develop resilience. They watched their parents work long hours without complaining. They saw neighbors help each other without posting about it. They watched adults carry heavy burdens quietly. That environment leaves a mark. It teaches you that life is serious but manageable. That problems are normal. That responsibility isn't a punishment, it's part of being human. People raised in the 70s learned to be reliable because they had no alternative. That's why they often feel older than their age today. Not physically, but mentally. Their maturity didn't come from books. It came from witnessing real life unfiltered, without screens or distractions. There's something almost poetic about them. They were the bridge between two worlds. One foot in an old world that was slower, rougher, and more real. And one foot in a new world that's fast, noisy, and digital. They remember life without internet, without constant noise, yet they're watching a generation drowning in it. Maybe that's why conversations with them feel different. They're grounded, present, not trying to impress anyone, not competing in invisible games. Their confidence comes from lived experience, struggle, and responsibility carried long before they understood what responsibility even meant. They remind us of something simple. Strength doesn't come from being taught, it comes from being tested. Now look at the generation born after the 2000s. They grew up with phones in their hands before they could properly speak. Notifications, videos, messages, endless feeds. Their brains have been running at maximum speed since childhood, and the impact is everywhere. They burn out quickly. They feel overwhelmed easily. Their attention disappears in seconds because their minds process more information in a single day than people in the 70s absorbed in a week. Social media connects them, but it also pressures them. They compare themselves constantly, often without realizing it. They feel behind even when they're doing fine. Their minds rarely rest because the phone never stops demanding attention. Even during downtime, they scroll, and scrolling isn't rest. This generation is intelligent, creative, and open-minded, but also mentally exhausted, overstimulated, and emotionally drained in ways older generations never experienced. They're growing up in a world that moves faster than the human brain was designed for, trying to survive one notification at a time. So here's the question. Which generation do you think had it harder, and why? And tell me, were you born before 1980 or after? I want to know which generation you belong to. If this made you see things differently, subscribe. We go deeper every day. Thanks for listening.